First is, again, very foundational, support and resistance, right? So I won't give textbook definition of what it is. We're gonna be really focusing on the charts, right, when we're talking about these concepts. So first, support and resistance. Let's start with the first one, support, right? So support is, when you look, it's that green area that I'm showing you in the chart, right? So support is that level in the chart, right, where prices generally have a hard time going below, right? So as you can see here, every time it touches a green area, usually prices bounce higher. So bakit? It's because this area, right, as I mentioned, it's called the support area. This area is deemed cheap, right, by most buyers, diba? So there's a lot of demand coming in at these levels, holding the prices up. Kasi at the end of the day, in the market, whether crypto or any other financial market, it's all about demand and supply, right? So there's a lot of demand at this area, which is why prices generally, right, hold above that area. And so there's a lot of buyers there. And in contrast, ito naman yung resistance, right? So resistance is the opposite. It's an area in the chart where prices have a hard time going above, diba? So they have a hard time going above that area. Why? It's because now there's more sellers. There's more selling pressure. And this area is now deemed to be expensive. So more people are selling and less people are likely to buy at that level, which leads prices to usually drop or decline or just stay below it. Right? So siguro to give an analogy, we can say that the support, ito yung floor. Right? Yung floor, hindi basta-basta mababasag, masisira, kahit gaano kalakas mo tumalon, hindi yan basta-basta masisira. While the resistance, you can say that's the ceiling. Hindi basta-basta masisira, kahit suntukin mo yan, right? Unless sobrang pangit ng material, but you get the point, right? Di basta-basta mababasag or masisira. So that's support and resistance. So now we always, when we're starting out in the markets, everyone tells us to buy low, sell high. You want to buy low, you want to sell high. Well, of course, kasi that's how you make a profit. But how do you actually buy low, sell high, right? Dito na pupasok yung support and resistance. Like here in this example in Gala, you want to buy at support. You want to buy at the bounce of support at these green candles. And then you want to sell it when prices are close to hitting resistance, right? You want to buy low, you want to sell high, you want to buy at support, and then you want to sell at resistance. So that's already it's not a trading strategy, but it's a component of a trading strategy that you can, if this is new to you, you can start practicing this, maybe virtual trading or something like that. Diba? So pwede nyo tignan yung mga charts, pwede nyo i-plot, diba? Where's your support, where's your resistance? But this is a very tradable setup, right? If you buy on support here, you sell it at resistance, that's about maybe a 20-25% swing in this chart, diba? So another example would be the sandbox, same thing here. I think this is a recent chart, right? So you have support, we have resistance, price have a hard time going above resistance, price have a hard time going below support, and that's a 34% range that you could possibly trade. Right? So but now, what if you can't see any support and resistance levels? No? So that's a good question that I plotted for the presentation. What if you see a chart like this? Diba? Okay, let's say for example, you bought it, right? Bago siya pumutok, bago umakyat, ano gagawin mo? You can't really see where to sell it, right? In terms of the whole resistance discussion we're having. So dito na pupasok yung you want to look at longer time frames, right? You can adjust the chart kasi yung default niyan is daily, right? You can look at weekly, monthly. So in this case, I zoomed out, right? What you want to do is you want to zoom out, look at the weekly chart, larger time frame, and here you'll see, okay, so may $5 pala, dun yung next resistance. And more likely than not, if the prices continue to go higher, maybe at around that $5 area, dun siya mauuntog. Maybe, right? We don't really know, but chances are, there will be resistance at that level. And given in this example, nakabili ako sa ilalim, you want to sell at resistance, right? Remember, the longer term the time frame, the more significant the resistance level is. If this is an intraday time frame of, for example, 30 minutes sa chart, it's not as significant as 1 week or 30 or 1 week or 3 days or a monthly chart, diba? So pwede mo yan palit-palitan, right? So here's another example, say Litecoin, right? You listen to our discussion before, you understood that you want to participate in uptrends, you're able to get Litecoin at a low price, and now you don't really know where to sell. And again, dito na po pasok yung look at longer term time frame. So itong peak nung chart ito sa 365, ito rin yun. It's this point. right? 365. And if you knew, okay, I can't really see any proper resistances right now, but you saw, okay, on a longer term time frame, ano na pala to? All-time high na. Meaning, it's currently at its highest price it's ever been, and that's a very significant resistance level, right? And there's bound to be a lot of sellers there, right? And at least in this case, marami talaga sellers because prices, after hitting that level, that very significant long-term resistance, prices drop. The value basically, almost 100%. Yung binagsak, 89 or 90%. Next example naman, ito, XRP. In this case, okay, we showed some examples for resistance. Paano naman yung support, right? So, something that I learned in 2019 from JC, one of the founders of Investagrams, he taught me this setup. He calls it the back to its roots setup, where any asset, stock, or token in this case, di ba, na sobrang bugbog, right? Whenever it really goes back to those longer term support levels, hindi naman siya outright pwede maging reversal, but there are possible opportunities for a bounce play or for a quick short-term profit. But at least in this case in XRP, right? If you take a look here, for about 2 years, bugbog siya. And then over here, you have a long-term support level. That's also where it bottomed. Although in this case, nag-reversal siya. Pero we couldn't have really known, diba? 2020 na all the way to 2021. 2022, 2021, sobrang lakas. Pero, ayun, right? This is something you can look at if you're trying to see, okay, sobrang bugbog nung specific na stock or na token. I want to see if I can make a quick profit or a quick bounce play. You can try to look at longer term support levels, right? Same example here. We have ETH na sobrang bugbog, down 76%. You can't really see any support levels at this point. Already broke below everything. But if you looked at the longer term time frame, you would see now, okay, this $80 to $100 range is actually a very significant support level. And after that, it just rallied after that. Right? But again, the examples here show na nag-rally sila. But you can't, again, when you're doing this, you're trying to buy a downtrend. Like I said, it's harder to make money. Nagkataon lang dito, nag-super bull run. But in more cases, it will just most likely be a shorter term bounce play. Right? So now, does the concept of support and resistance only apply to sideways trends? Right? Because I showed a lot of trends, a lot of support and resistances, pero sideways lang. So now, syempre hindi. Dito na po pasok yung trend lines. So trend lines are basically those support and resistance, pero diagonal yung pag-plot nila, no? So something like this in ETH. Because of course, in the markets, di lang siya puro sideways trends, right? We already know that. So basically, the most important thing to note when we're plotting our trend lines or our support and resistances is this is subjective, right? There's no perfect way to plot it. Kasama ba dapat yung wick? Dapat ba sa body lang? It really depends on you. In my case, I don't overthink it. Diba? So in this case, you see na medyo nag-overshoot siya dito. Pero bumawi naman kaagad, right? So what's important is you understand that support and resistance levels, they're not lines. They're not a specific price point. They're zones. They're areas, right? So if you have a support, let's say at $2, you can range that, diba? Pang between 2 to 205, 2.05 or 1.95 to 2, right? So there's a range, right? So same here. We have an uptrend line here. So these are your opportunities, right, to participate in an uptrending stock, like for example here, uptrending token, parang dito sa FTM. And of course, same is true with downtrends, right? Meron ding downtrend line. For example, dito sa SLP, sa token na to, you see that every time it tried to rally, it found very big resistance or selling pressure, right, at that downtrend line. And same example here for Cardano. You have the downtrend line, and whenever prices try to break above it or move higher, usually it finds resistance at the downtrend line. So of course, support and resistance is not just all about sideways trends. Of course, meron din mga ganito na uptrends and downtrends.